back when we first started traveling in our first van, way back in 2018, we met up. It was the first people we'd ever met up with on the road.
I know.
And this couple actually asked us, like, do you know the Russos? It's the first other fellow van lifer that anybody had ever personally introduced to us and said, you need to follow the Russos.
Mm-hmm. And ever since then, we've followed them and we've become friends, which is really fun.
That's a new thing. In the last year and a half, we actually met them at Overland Expo in 22.
Yeah.
What year is this? This is 23. We met them in 2022.
And when we met them, they had this whole entourage around them. Everybody loves the Russos.
They're just good community builders. They always have the espresso machine and coffee.
That's
if you're
true.
ever around them at an expo, we've seen them at Van Life, one of the Van Expos, and also Overland Expo. I can't remember which ones. Anyway, every time we've seen them, they have the espresso machine out and they're serving up coffee to all of their new and old friends.
Yeah, and they've been in this content creating world for a long time. In fact, if you've ever been on YouTube and you're searching for a particular RV or truck, you have probably watched one of their videos.
They know all about the different kinds of campers out there. Specifically, they're in a van right now, but they've been in, I think they said class A's, they've been in truck campers, they've been in 2 different vans, but they do all sorts of RV helpful kind of stuff. But they're world travelers too. We talked to them today about their recent travels to Italy and Thailand.
And they're cruising. They're getting on boats now.
They cruised across the Atlantic recently. So they're just very fascinating, very fun people. And this is our conversation with Joe and Kait Russo from We're the Russos.
But remember, Joe and Kait would want you to leave a review for this podcast.
I'm always trying to hurry it up and introduce it and be like, here it is. So Chris doesn't give you the pitch of review the podcast.
Please. So if you're on your phone, you're like, you know what? This guy is just begging for my words of affirmation. You're right. I am. So go to iTunes, leave us a review, or on Spotify, you can leave a 5-star or 4-star or whatever star review.
Honest review.
Honest review.
But if you really don't like us, then maybe just turn this off and don't go review.
Yeah. Well, let's go get coffee so you can like us better. Okay. Anyway, let's just jump into the conversation with the Russos. Guys, thanks for being here.
Hey, guys.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. All right. So just in case people don't know who you are, I'm sure most people out here do. Just give us an overview of who you are, where you're from, and all that kind of thing.
Okay, I'm Kait. This is Joe. No, in all seriousness, Joe, Kait. So our story begins back in 2014 when Kait came up with this crazy idea for us to quit our jobs, sell the house, basically get rid of everything but what we could fit in an RV that we didn't own yet, and basically travel the country for a year.
With our dogs.
Yes, with our dogs. We were living in Los Angeles at the time and tired of the rat race and everything else, and we just needed to take a year off. That year turned into 6.5 years of full-time travel on the road, and it's now been, going on, this is our 8.5 years now of RVing. So in 2020, at the end of 2021, we settled down and got a home base again, but we still travel a fair amount of the year. And as Chris and Sarah mentioned, we've been in all sorts of vehicles or campers. We started with a Class A motorhome, went down to a Class B van, went into a truck camper. We're back in a Class B van. And throughout all of that, we've tested a number of vehicles for different companies. So we've tried just about everything except for a towable.
Okay.
All right.
That's all accurate.
That's accurate. And then in between all of the camper travel, we've done a fair amount of overseas travel as well, whether renting a camper overseas or traveling by train or airplane.
Gotcha.
Wait, we haven't traveled. Oh, yeah, we did travel by train.
Where was that at? Can I ask?
So we took a train from Beijing, China to Lhasa, Tibet.
Oh my gosh.
Multiple trains, I should say.
That is so cool.
And
That's more than a train ride. That's like an
Yes.
epic train ride.
Once in a lifetime trip. Come on.
Yeah, it was I think it was 30 or 36 hours.
Wow.
And the part from being on mainland China, the bullet train, we were whipping across the country, but China is huge. It's like the US in terms of size, even a bit wider. But what was interesting about it was as we were traveling across mainland China, you get to see a lot of China that you don't see in the news and that. And what was crazy about it was you'd be out in the middle of this like countryside, and all of a sudden the city would appear out of nowhere. And it would just be 20 of the same like sky-rise apartment building. And it was all abandoned. No one lived there. And then it would just disappear back into farmland. And you'd see that like every 20 minutes or so until we got to, I forget the name. It was Xinjiang, or where we got onto the train.
Xinjiang, uh-huh.
Yeah. Where we got on the train to Tibet. And then that's another 20 hours or so. And it's currently, or I think at least it was then, the highest train in the world.
Wow.
So high that they had to pressurize the cabins, or at least pump oxygen in there.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, and we went through this landscape that looked like we were on the moon. It was crazy.
Oh wow, that's like one of my bucket list
Yeah,
trips.
that's pretty cool.
I feel like we could talk the entire episode about like just international travel, because I know you guys have traveled extensively in China and all. But let's jump back to, I guess, RVing in general. Where should we begin with that? Because there's just so many. I know where I should start.
Okay.
Okay.
Where are you going to start?
I'm just always curious about people's backstory, because I know you guys quit your jobs. What was your background prior to hitting the road? And I know now that you guys are full-time content creators, but what was that transition like? Like, what did you guys do before that set you up for this?
Yeah. So my career before we quit and hit the road was digital marketing.
Okay.
So working for different agencies, creative agencies to startups, really focused on marketing. So that really, those skill sets really helped us kind of launch our content business.
For sure.
And I was in advertising, but on the product side. So I was a product developer for advertising products at DirecTV for
very
10
cool.
years.
Wow. You guys were like set up to do your own like creative business.
Yeah.
You really were. I didn't know that was your background. I had no idea. So now I'm seeing it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's why
Yeah.
they're doing so well.
So why?
I think it just worked out that way because we got on the road, and a month in, we both had this moment where we were like, we don't want to go back.
Mhm.
What are we going to do? And Kate had been following, what were the names?
Well, I had followed various different blogs from food to travel. And there was one food blog that would consistently post how they were making an income every month.
Yeah.
And they broke it down by affiliate marketing, like sponsored posts, advertising on their blog. And it kind of planted a seed in the sense of, hey, people can make a living and be very successful blogging.
Yeah.
So that was kind of on the back of my head. Because when we decided to come up with this plan to essentially take a year off, we saved up enough to travel for a year without having to work. And then the plan was, at the end of that year, once we ran out of money, we would essentially get jobs again, settle down, and go back to kind of the life we had before. But as Joe mentioned, a month in, we realized we didn't want to go and do that. So how do we keep going?
Yeah, so it started with the blog and then transitioned into the YouTube channel because we met a gentleman that I had been following just in the RV space as I was researching. We happened to be at the same place and met up with him, and he convinced us to start a YouTube channel.
Okay. That was my next question of what was the first platform you guys, because I know you guys as YouTubers and Instagrammers, but I know the blogging is a huge part. So I guess blogging came first, then YouTube. Are you still doing all of them at one time? Or what does that look like?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We are.
Yes.
So we launched, we started with the blog.
Okay.
Because that was the thing that kind of was in the back of my mind. And we didn't really have an intention to start vlogging or making video content. But as Joe said, he just put us on his YouTube channel and said, okay, this video is coming out and I'm going to point people to your YouTube channel. So you better have some content for people to watch.
So we had talked about starting a YouTube channel back before we quit our jobs. And we were trying to figure out ways to possibly make money while we were on the road. But my very last day, or both of our last days of work, as we were driving to work together, Kate started filming me. And I had no idea what to say. It was terrible. I was like, let's never do this again. If you go onto our YouTube channel and search for last day of work, you'll be able to find that video.
Oh, I'm going back and watching it. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was out there.
It was terrible. And now not only are we doing the like YouTube, blog, Instagram, we're also starting a podcast.
Mhm.
So I think this is the first time we've announced this publicly.
Yay.
I don't know when this podcast will be going live. Our podcast might be live by then, but it's going to be called RVing with Joe and Kait.
Love
Oh,
it.
very
Oh, I feel like we're one of those talk shows who gets like the secret inside
Yeah.
scoop delivered on their show, you know?
We're like
Fallon or
we're
somebody.
we're the poor man's
Thanks.
Jimmy Fallon is what we like to say. So yeah.
Congrats on all that. I want to hear about
Thank
the
you.
blog personally, because I feel like, are they the first bloggers you've had on?
You guys are one of the first people we've had on that have mentioned blogging, because most people that we've talked to, they have a YouTube channel or they have an Instagram platform or something like that, or a business.
Some sort of,
But
yeah.
yeah, but you guys, it's really cool. You started off with the blog, so let's dive into that.
I'm really curious because I think a lot of people are like sort of me, where they're introverted and they hear content creation, they think they have to be in front of the camera all the time, like they have to be on YouTube or Instagram, and that was really intimidating to me at first. But there's a whole other side of content creation, which is blogging, which pays pretty good money. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So the blogging that we do is all very similar content to our YouTube channel. So it's about RV travel primarily and resources around RVing. So we're able to essentially monetize the blog through affiliate links, right? Affiliate marketing, advertising on the site that is all handled by a third party. So we're not actually actively going out and getting people to sign up as advertisers on our blog.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way we kind of get traffic, right, is through creating consistent content and also updating older content, and trying to figure out like how best to present the knowledge that we've gained in the last 8+ years of RVing and sharing that with people from our perspective. So Joe and I write from like our experiences and products that we use or places that we've been, campgrounds we've stayed at. So it's less what would you call it? Like a giant blanket of, we could just essentially publish whatever we can around the space. Because it's just the two of us. We don't have writers. We don't have other people working for us. So whatever bandwidth we have to create blog content on top of all the other content we're putting out, it's kind of the flow.
Yeah. And I will say with the blog, I think in general, it takes a lot more work because there is more to update and more to stay on top of. So if we have an affiliate whose link has changed, you now have to go through your entire blog and find everywhere you put that affiliate link and go back and update it and fix it.
Yes.
So with a blog, there's a lot of back end work that has to be done on a regular, consistent basis that Kait is the hero for doing all of that.
That's a
on
full-time
top
job.
of just writing content. Yeah. So I wish I could say it was just write content, publish it on the blog, and you're good to go. If you're doing that, you're probably not going to be very successful because of all the other work that goes into it. And I'm not even talking about SEO and that sort of thing. It's just keeping the blog up and running. But what's interesting about it is for most of the time since we've started, our blog has either outperformed or been on par with YouTube in terms of revenue.
Wow.
So I would say it's either our top or on par with YouTube in terms of revenue for the year.
That's incredible.
And that one of the cool things about it is it offers you a lot of different opportunities for revenue. So as Kait mentioned, affiliate links. And yes, we can put affiliate links in the description of a YouTube video, but how many times do you go into the description of a YouTube video?
Right.
Not very often.
Right.
Exactly.
So you can have all sorts of different affiliates. You can have different sponsor deals if you want to do those. You can add specific advertising for advertisers. So sometimes people will come to us and say, hey, you have this page on like all the Class B camper vans in the marketplace. We would like to highlight ours.
Okay.
And then we have an advertising platform that we get, a monthly check from.
Wow.
So, and that works similar to the advertising in YouTube.
Okay.
And it's a lot of work. there are a lot of opportunities. And the website that we had been following before we hit the road, it was a Pinch of Yum.
Okay.
And I think at the time, if I remember correctly, on a monthly basis, they were bringing in $30,000 to $40,000.
Wow.
A month?
That was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9-10 years ago.
Wow.
So I don't even know where they are now.
Good.
Yeah, I wish we were bringing in.
Yeah, we definitely don't have a content team.
Yeah.
Like they have.
Yeah.
It's just the two of us.
We get that.
Wow.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, their expenses per month were something like $10,000-$15,000.
Okay. That makes sense. Still, that's great money.
I mean,
I think
Mm-hmm.
for me, blogging is, as much as I love YouTube and I love Instagram because it's so visual, I really love that aspect of it. But blogging is really cool because you can truly do it from anywhere as long as you have a pretty basic, internet signal. You can do
Yeah.
it from anywhere. You can do it from a beach. You can do it from a pool. You can do it from a plane. Like anywhere in the world, you can be blogging, and I love it. I think it's been a really cool way to like grow our business lately.
Mhm.
We're not generating a ton of revenue off it. It has grown rapidly lately.
Mhm.
But how long did it take you guys before you started, I guess, making money on the blog? Because I'm just gauging like how much farther do I have to go?
Well,
It took a little while.
yeah, we used to publish. If you go on our website and you look up income,
Mhm.
we used to publish our income.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And looking at it, the first month we really started making any sort of money, we made $50,
Okay.
I think it was 25.
25, 50.
Yeah. Well, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and the thing was, it took a long time for the blog to kind of spin up and actually start making money because just getting the traffic, getting the affiliates and everything else. We didn't have an ad network at the time. We were still using Google, which was not paying well.
Mhm.
And it was the YouTube channel that really spun up first.
Okay.
And so if we look at it when we started the YouTube channel in December of 2015, along with the blog, and we went full time into all of that, it took us a year from then to cover all of our expenses. So this was
Wow.
our RV payment at the time, food, insurance, everything.
Mhm.
I think it was a couple thousand a month, and we were able to get to that point.
Wow. That's
Within a year. Yeah.
That's really fast. I mean, for
Yeah.
anybody listening who's still like thinking about it, like it does take a long time, but that seems to
That's-
make that amount of income, that's pretty quick.
Yeah, but you were consistent. Like you
That's the
posted
tip.
several articles a week, and then you started doing YouTube as
We
well. Like
did.
you were just consistent the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
to give people some more perspective, it was we were probably putting in 80+ hour weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We were
Each.
Yeah. And this was just like the time we were sitting down, working on videos, working on the blog, waking up, our phones would be in our hands, checking comments, responding to things, getting new stuff up. We were publishing probably anywhere from 3 to 5 videos a week.
Wow.
At least.
Yeah.
Holy moly, that's
And
a lot.
it was to the point where all of our travel was based on what we were going to do next.
Mhm.
So we were going to go to a town and write an article about the best food there or something like that and make videos about it and everything else. And for us, it actually became too much.
Mhm.
And I think over the years, we've been able to find a nice work-life balance where we're not making as much money. Our revenue has declined because of it, but we're able to enjoy our time much more,
Mhm.
and we don't get burnt out. If we do start to get burnt out, we'll back off even more.
Mhm.
But I think the reason we've been able to do that is because of all that backlog of content, the website, the videos, everything else.
Yeah.
After a while, your revenue from all those things. So, if you're getting 100 views on every video over an 8-year span of, a couple hundred videos, that starts to add up.
Mhm.
And it's just that backlog of content that the more you grow it, the more it'll make revenue for you in the background.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't even think we were planning on diving into actual
No.
content creation, but once you guys mentioned the blog, I just got
This is
really,
yeah.
I got really interested in that because that's where I'm at right now. As I've been growing, and it's growing significantly. It's very fast right now,
Yeah.
but it's still not making that money.
But
so.
you're right. Like we're in that stage of working 80 plus hours a week, and we feel like we've been working 80 plus hours a week for forever. It feels like that anyway, like banging your head against the wall. You're like, no, this will be
the year.
Yeah, this will be the year. You'll see those inspirational videos. They're like, just hit publish. I'm like, I have hit publish, and I've done it 1,000 times. And so when you are during that time, and like you kind of hit on it about being burned out, or what is joy sucking for you? Like, is it the blog? Is it the video? Is it all of it together? Do you genuinely like creating content, or do you do it as a means to an end to live the lifestyle that you live?
Well, we enjoy it.
Good.
And we've said if we don't enjoy it, we will change or do something else.
Mm-hmm.
We still enjoy it. We have check-ins with each other. We'll just sit down and have a meeting to decide, like, is this something we still like doing?
Mm-hmm.
Is it something that's performing well? And that's actually how we came up with the podcast, because we've been finding that in our content, travel content isn't as popular anymore. And people seem to be gravitating more towards our resource type content.
Interesting.
And that's kind of how the evolution of the podcast started. Was we figured with the podcast, we can get more in depth in certain things and put it out on different platforms that we're not using today.
Yeah.
So all the different podcasting platforms.
And we've met so many amazing people throughout our journey, especially as it relates to RV travel.
Yeah.
And people have like stories to share, experience to share. I think podcasting is such a great way to sit down with these people and kind of talk to them more in depth about something specific.
Yeah.
For example, like once you all are finished shipping your camper overseas, like sitting down and talking about that process and what is that like, and kind of sharing your learnings and recommendations for other people who might want to do it too.
And to answer your question about the joy suck, I would say the back end of the website. And
I think the back end of anything as it relates to the business, right? The administrative stuff that we all have to deal with as creators, but our viewers and listeners, don't have any contact with.
Right.
So like making sure, if you have an email subscriber service that you're keeping up with that and, adjusting the pricing on all of that, or, if you hit a certain amount of traffic threshold, having to like change your plan, monitoring spam, all of that stuff.
I mean, I don't think the number one thing I've noticed from other people when they're talking to us, asking questions, or we're meeting them and they're starting off as creators, the one thing a lot of people don't realize is this is a business. And I think it's especially true for like our families or friends, because they just think we're going out and shooting video and then we can play and have fun.
The eternal
And
vacation.
it's one of those things.
I know.
Yeah. We actually had a family member who were like, oh, hey, we want to come out with you and film while, at a national park. And we're like, no, we're not going to do that. It's not, it's
not a
just,
vacation.
It's not going to work. So we'll go have family time later. So yeah,
you do have to treat it like a job though.
Yeah.
You do. And like family member, my mom, so she and my aunt live together.
Okay.
And when Kate and I go out and visit, we'll be in their dining room sitting working, and I have to put my headphones on regardless of whether I'm working or whether I'm listening to anything or not. And my mom will come in and she'll look at me and she goes, Joe, I know you're working, but and then she'll start on this whole thing. And I'm like, Mom, if you know I'm working, I can't be bothered right now. I'm in the middle of stuff. It'd be like me when you were back working, me walking into your office and saying, hey, do you mind going to the store for me to pick up like a can of tomatoes for dinner tonight? I can't do that.
No.
Right.
And
I think so.
It's like looking in a mirror, Joe. It's like looking in a mirror.
That's so real.
But I do feel like Mom got a really good appreciation for all the back end work that we have to do while traveling when we took her on a 10-week road trip in a van. So it was the three of us and her dog. We traveled across the country for 11,000 miles.
Wow.
And we produced an entire 10-episode series called Summer with Mom.
Wow.
And I think that gave her, one, a really good insight look into van life and what it's like to travel in a vehicle, because she's never done that before. But also it gave her an appreciation for the amount of work that happens on the back end before, people got to see the 10 episode series.
Yeah. But going back a little bit, the reason I bring up that this is a business is because a lot of people don't, and I definitely didn't think this far ahead, where, a good portion of my year, especially coming up now that we're getting towards the end of 2023, is spent doing taxes.
Yes.
I am my own bookkeeper. We do have a CPA that we use, which is extremely helpful and has saved us a lot of money. But it's one of those things, you need to think about all these things. And you're going to be running a business. And there are a lot of things about running a business I never knew until we started doing this. And then you get that little notice in the mail from the IRS that you forgot to do X, Y, and Z, and you owe them some money. So there are little things like that just to be aware of and think about. And it's not just posting videos to YouTube or blog or whatever it is.
It is so time consuming. I mean, Chris had already owned his own business, but when I came into the marriage, like he had been owning it for years. So thankfully, like he had a jump start on all that, but I had no idea, even blogging, like how much work went on behind the scenes of like, you have to maintain, like you said, taxes take so much time. My biggest fear in life is being like audited. I don't know why, but I've never done anything wrong. Never gotten a letter from the IRS, but I'm terrified of it.
We have our passport and we're ready to jump ship as quick as possible.
You just got put on a list.
Right.
Shoot.
Oh my gosh. It is treating it like a business. I think now that idea of taking mom across the country with us, we're going to load up our parents in a van and we're going to take them across the country with us. And we're going to show them that this is what it's like. And yes, it's fun, but it's not a vacation.
It's going to be more of a reality TV show kind of style.
Oh,
yeah. We'll
do that.
Yeah, like an E network. Yeah, we'll do that. So.
Oh, it is so much work. You go ahead. I know you're about to ask a question.
No, I do. Well, this is actually a really fun conversation because I feel like we're connecting on some different levels as content creators, but you both are in the travel space and you're creating content, and just hearing you, like you haven't said it specifically, but you kind of have, is that you've pivoted, in some of your content based. And so as you've grown, creating content, creating travel stuff, doing all these, reviews on vehicles or whatever, how is it easier as it goes on to pivot to reach that audience, or be fresh and new and have a consistent, business with this? Or do you find it more frustrating and hard and draining?
Well, kind of.
So I'll kind of go back to a point earlier that you had asked about, like the joy suck and are you doing things just to do it? And we've always had, like Joe said, this check-in of, we want to enjoy what we're doing. Yes, we understand there's work involved and it is a business, but we don't want to put out content or create things that we're not interested in. And when we first launched our website, YouTube channel, we tried all different types of content. We had a cooking series. We had, RV travel series. Joe had a kind of like morning cup of Joe talk, video talk show almost. So we tried so many different things that we were both passionate about. Joe loves coffee. We both love travel. We love cooking. And we put it all out there and kind of got some feedback from the audience that started watching our content to see what they were more interested in. And if that aligned with what we were also passionate about and enjoyed doing, then we started doing more of it. So kind of going through our evolution of the different campers we had, we started with Class A motorhome life, towing a vehicle with travel with our dogs. And then as we changed our campers throughout the years, we also noticed our audience changed, right? People weren't interested in Class B travel when we first started doing it in 2017. So they thought we were crazy. We lost some people, we gained some people. But we've always stayed true to like producing content around what we enjoy and what fits kind of our lifestyle at the moment. And RV reviews has always made sense because we were really interested in the different kind of campers that are available and sharing that with our audience. we've always enjoyed different types of RV travel and different kinds of rigs. So we've highlighted that throughout the years. And it's just kind of, I think because we've switched campers so much, we've lost people and gained more people along the way, that pivoting has been fairly easy for us because we know like people will get burnt out. You know, there are certain creators that I've watched for a very long time, and then I kind of, not that I forget about them, but I feel like I've gotten a good amount of content from them, and maybe I just don't watch them for a while. And so we kind of understand that we're not always going to have the same viewers for the entire duration of our as careers as content creators.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is you need to be able to take a step back and say, I'm going to make this change and it's going to impact the channel. It could be positive, it could be negative, but you have to be willing to take that risk. We've made some changes that have been great. So going from the Class A to the Class B, we started van life before there was hashtag van life. It wasn't really a thing. People thought we were crazy. You couldn't do it. There's no way you can live out of a van. And our channel kind of skyrocketed at that point. But some of the things that we looked at was, pivoting from this to the van. And we thought that was going to be crazy. We didn't know if it was going to work. The other one was going from, we thought we had to be creating content on a regular basis. So at one point we were creating content every single day.
Oh my word.
We were trying to do at least, as I mentioned earlier, 3 to 5 videos a week. And Kait came up with the idea that let's just produce 1 video a week. And I was like, this is going to screw us. And it actually ended up working out really well for us. Then we tried going, when we started scaling back, we're like, we're going to do it once every 2 weeks. And we noticed that the channel just started dropping because of that.
Gotcha.
So I think the thing is, if you're going to pivot, it's good. You should do it. Try it. But be flexible and be willing to change. Be willing to look at your pivot and say, this isn't working. We did some tests this year with our content, trying to do more international travel, like going to Italy, and found that our audience just was not interested as much. We did some travel to Thailand, and people just weren't interested in that. We went cruising, and all of a sudden, people loved cruising.
Really?
So we might do more cruising content and no like international travel content, so to speak. We've noticed that our travel content in the van hasn't been as popular as I mentioned. So we're kind of pivoting to the podcast and some of this other content. And we'll see how that goes. It could be great. It could be a complete dud. Who knows? It could be like Cup of Joe from back in the day where I had these 5 guys that would watch every week, but that was it.
I love that. But I love that you guys are still open to trying new things. I mean, you guys have been in the content creation game for almost a decade now. I mean, you said you had the original idea of hitting the road in 2014. We're heading up on 2024 here. That's a long time to still be coming up with new ideas and willing to try new things. Because, I mean, we're guilty of sometimes just getting stuck in our bubble and not wanting to experiment. So that's encouraging. But do you want to pivot here for a second and talk about the actual travel? Because that was our original intention of having you guys on the show, is because we really want to hear about your travels. You guys are so interesting in a lot of ways. But I think let's pivot here and talk about some of the travels you guys have done. Starting with, could you just tell us what rig you're in right now?
Sure. We are in a Class B camper van on the Ford Transit chassis. The build out is by Storyteller Overland, and it's 19 feet.
19 and a half feet.
19 and a half feet.
It's the Storyteller Overland Mode LT.
It's sweet. We've seen it. Yeah. The best part about camping with you guys or seeing you guys at these overlanding expos and stuff is that you guys always have coffee at your van. That's always the highlight of seeing you guys.
I was actually going to say there's always like hundreds of people. I'm not hundreds, but I mean, there's just a group of people surround, like you guys walk and then there's this group of people that walk with you. It's almost like your own little entourage or whatever.
You guys always have this little community bubble. I love it. We're always like, there they are. It's great.
I'll say the first time we ever had we had gone to RV shows after we started making videos and had a couple people recognize us, and you kind of expect it in that space. But the first time anyone recognized us outside of an RV show was, I think it was 2016. We were going to the Pomona RV show. We're at a Costco. We're standing in line and we're talking to each other. And this gentleman in front of us turns around and he goes, "I recognize your voices. You're Joe and Kait."
Oh my gosh.
We're like, yes.
Well, and we were definitely sub 10,000 subscribers.
I think we
Wow.
were like three or 5,000 subscribers.
That's crazy. And he knew
amazing.
your voices that quickly. That's cool.
Uh-huh.
Costco's where
yeah.
it's at. I have to say,
Yeah.
our Costco in Chattanooga, we've been spotted there a few times too. And it's always in the same spot.
We always have toilet paper
Huh.
and like cheese in our
It's
shopping
pretty
cart.
much it.
And then we had this one guy, he was so nice. He's like, he looked down at our cart and then he looked at us and then he was like, "I used to watch you guys." And I'm like, "Cool, thanks."
See ya.
Yeah.
He's like, not so much anymore now. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we pivoted.
The strangest, I will say the strangest one I had was when we were going to Tibet. So on our flight out to China, we're at the airport, we're going through TSA, and I always wear cargo pants.
Mhm.
And the pockets on the cargo pants always set off that scanner, so they have to pat you down and just double check there's nothing in your pockets.
Right.
Well, I go through, the gentleman's like, "Here, come over to the side. Do you have anything in your pockets?" No. And he's like down on his knees, patting my legs, and he looks up at me and he goes, "By the way, I loved your last book."
No. Oh gosh.
I was like, awkward, but thank you.
This isn't the time. That's funny.
Really nice guy, though.
Where was that at? Was that stateside still, or were you in Tibet already? Surely
That
you
was
weren't.
stateside.
Okay, I
Okay,
was
okay.
like, surely you weren't in Tibet. By then.
We were at the airport.
It's like, you guys have got fans in Tibet. That's
so
pretty amazing.
That's so awesome. So what is it? All right. So you're in a Sprinter van now. Like, what is it about traveling by road that you enjoy? Like, why? I mean, obviously you keep going back to that. Like, you're doing international travel, but you keep coming back to being in a van or an RV or a truck or something. So why?
I think it's just because it's a very nice way to travel for us. We've gotten to the point of being very comfortable with it. And yeah, we could fly someplace, but now we have to like really think about what we're packing, get on a plane, go through security, all that other BS, get to a hotel, be in a hotel. And I don't know how many hotel rooms we've gone to where you get in there, you can smell cigarette smoke, or there's something's not right. You need to change rooms, or people are loud, and all these other things. And just for us, that experience isn't all that joyful. But when we take our own camper, we're bringing home along with us. We can pack a bunch of stuff that we may never use, but just to be on the safe side. And I think that's one of the most difficult things I've had with traveling since we stopped traveling full time is it's like, I don't have my whole life with me anymore. And I really have to be thoughtful about what I need to remember to bring. And like, we just went down to Disney World.
I saw
and
that.
Spent what was it, 4 or 5 days at Fort Wilderness.
Love it.
It was just nice. We had our own space. It was raining, but we could hang out in a van. Made our own food. We didn't have to like go to restaurants or go down to the hotel. And it's comfortable.
I agree with that.
Something very comforting about having all of your stuff with you and your bed. I mean, sleep, at least for us, sleeping is very, very important, and it can definitely impact me and how I feel if I don't get a good night's sleep. So just being able to bring your own pillow and having a comfortable bed, it makes a big difference. And then there's just so many things that we've seen along the way while driving that we would miss if we flew.
I agree with
And it's just nice to be able to stop whenever we want and like, hey, there's a sign for a random, point of interest. Let's go check it out.
Yeah. And they don't have Buc-ee's at the airport. Trust me. I've looked.
that. Do not.
Can you imagine?
And if you don't know what
the nightmare that
Buc-ee's
would
is,
be?
look it up.
Buc-ee's. One of you guys has a Bucky onesie, don't you? I saw somebody recently.
we both do.
Oh, you both do. Okay. I want to say I just saw
Yeah.
you guys running like a 5K in one of those. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
100%.
us. That was us.
I
Through
love
the
it.
zoo in
Through
our
the
in our
zoo.
beaver outfits.
So fun. I saw that. I was like, I'm glad we're friends like this.
Yeah, we also use the van on a like daily basis. So we kind of live out in the country, and when we go into town, if we're going to Costco or places like that, if we have a lot of stops, we'll bring the van, turn the refrigerator on, and when we go, all the food, ice cream, whatever that we buy gets stuck in the fridge, and we don't have to worry about it melting or anything else.
Mhm.
Yes.
And sometimes we'll go out with friends. Like this past summer, friends of ours were having a pool party. So we took the van because we could change. We had snacks in there. We had our like drinks and whatnot, and everything was accessible to us, and we didn't have to worry about packing up the car and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's
And
so
Joe
nice.
is more outgoing than I am. So, and he can stay out later.
Uh-huh.
And it's nice to bring the van where, I can say it's 9:00. I'm going to go and, retire for the evening, but he can still
Yeah.
go and hang with everyone. And we're not having to leave the party early because of me.
Yeah, I'm not outgoing. I just like to stay out late.
Okay.
There's a difference.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, having that little place to kind of hide away is really nice.
Yeah.
I always thought the van would make a perfect tailgating spot too. If you like go to a football game, we haven't
Mhm.
gotten to try that yet.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
We're-
would be a good spot.
We're going to use our truck camper probably to pick up a Christmas tree this week. That's how we're
Yeah,
going to
I
use it
think
on our
we're-
daily
Yeah,
daily
Ah.
driving around.
I think we're going to. And we, maybe you guys do this. I assume that you do because you seem like normal people. But in our van or our truck, we're driving and then you get tired. You're like, you know what? We can just pull over and take a nap in the middle of the day. Like, do you do that?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
actually nap when Kate's driving.
Oh,
Yes.
See, it's the best.
It's the
We asked some friends this the other day and they're like, we've never taken a nap in the van.
they're no
So
longer
what's the
friends.
point?
Like we just are like, you guys are weird. I can't believe you're not doing that in the van. You're missing
On a
the point.
long road trip day, you're 6 hours in, post lunch, you want a nap, just pull over and you've got your whole bed right there. It's a luxury.
Yes.
I'm telling you. There's no going back
Yes.
after this. But all
I will
right.
say that is one of the bigger, like having gone from a truck camper
Mm.
back to a van. That's one of the big things that I missed about the truck camper is there are those long driving days where I get really tired. Kate will take over. I'll go in the back and just crawl into bed.
Mm.
And I know it's not safe. I don't have a seatbelt or anything else on. I don't recommend people do it. But it is nice just to go back, close your eyes for like 20, 30 minutes, and then I'm ready to go again.
Yep. That is really nice. Yeah, actually, I don't know that we ever did that in our van. Did we? Kramer did.
and
Kramer slept on the bed the whole time.
Once or twice we did it in the van. We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, once or twice we did it in the van.
Just
on
Kramer,
a
don't
smooth
try it.
road. Yeah.
On a smooth road off the interstates in South Dakota where it's flat and there's nothing around. Okay, so maybe talk to us about the different kinds of rigs. So I know a lot of people found our channel from our van tour. That was our biggest video, remains our biggest video ever. People
Mhm.
are so fascinated by seeing different types of rigs. And you guys have so many different tours and information on all sorts of campers out there on your YouTube channel. So if you guys are interested in watching that, go check out their channel. What has been your favorite rig to travel in, or do you have a favorite, or do you kind of choose a new one as your lives and like lifestyle changes?
Yes.
Yes, that one.
That
Okay.
As our lifestyle changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because thinking back, going from, when we started selling our 1,200 square foot home in Los Angeles to move into a camper full time, I can't imagine having made that jump from the house into a van.
Mm.
The Class A motorhome was
Mhm.
probably the smallest we were comfortable
Mhm.
at the time with our 2 dogs. And then as our lifestyle changed and becoming more minimalist, I would say, or understanding we can, get along and enjoy with a lot less, we started realizing, hey, we could go even smaller, and having a smaller rig allows us to get to more places or be more nimble and more flexible. So it's definitely been changes with our lifestyle.
Yeah, and I'll say going from the van we first had was a ProMaster.
Okay.
Front wheel drive. We actually got stuck in wet grass a few times.
Oh.
And it really was not something you wanted to take too far off the pavement.
Gotcha.
And I know people take them on dirt roads and all sorts of things, which is great until things get wet and then it gets stuck.
Mm.
But that said, after that, we decided that we wanted something 4-wheel drive.
Mhm.
So we got to test a lot of other manufacturers' vehicles that were 4-wheel drive, ultimately leading us to the truck camper. So it was an F-350 with a 4-wheel camper's flatbed Hawk
Yeah.
camper. So what, for everyone who's listening to this, what that was we had a flatbed mounted on our truck, and the camper was designed with a flat bottom, not the normal truck camper that you see that has the flares on the side to go around a pickup bed. So it gave us more room inside. We wanted that because we wanted to do more overlanding, so off-road adventures and things like that. And we saw some pretty amazing things, did some pretty cool stuff with that truck, but quickly realized that off-roading, overlanding was not for us. And the reason for that was we were living out of this rig full time.
Yeah.
We would do one of these awesome adventures out in the middle of nowhere with a group of people, see some incredible things, and we'd get back and we're like, crap, we need to go to the mechanic because a seal on the engine was blown or a part of our suspension was now hanging loose. It was like every time we would do one of these, we'd have a blast, but something would be broken.
Gotcha.
And now we're scrambling to, in whatever town we're in, find a mechanic, get this fixed. Hopefully they can do it in a day so we don't have to get a hotel room. And we kind of got tired of that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was also different because all the people we were traveling with had a home base. They weren't living out of their vehicle and carrying everything with them. And so we started, like, after doing several overlanding trips and realizing and talking to other people who are also on the trip, there's always something to fix at the end of a trip, minor or big, that you start to kind of evaluate the risk and reward. Like, okay, if we go on this next trip with our home, and like, how long are we going to be out in terms of time at the mechanic, and how long are we going to be out of our camper potentially? And I think that became a bit more of a worry than we originally thought we would have to kind of consider when we started. But I would say, at least for me personally, now that we have a home base, I feel much more comfortable like going out and doing, let's say, a more intense trip where we could potentially have some issues, but there is that a little bit of a safety net of, okay, well, we have a home base now and we don't have all of our stuff with us. It just feels a little bit more manageable.
Yeah. And I think there's a different mindset too. Like, let's say we just completely destroyed the truck. Back then, that was our home. That was pretty much everything we owned was in that thing. And we would have had to have rented some sort of vehicle, like a U-Haul or something, to put it all in, go to a hotel, figure something else out with our lives. Now we're able to take the essentials out of that vehicle and fly home if we have to.
Right.
So that vehicle either being totaled or being in a mechanic shop for a long time wouldn't impact us as much as it did back then. And the other thing was I'm very handy, and I would consider myself a shade tree mechanic. So I carried a full set of tools. I had virtually everything I needed to tear that whole truck apart and build it back again, including power tools and everything else. The problem was you can't always do that in a parking lot, or someplace.
Right.
And you also, I don't know how many times I've been working on something, be it on the house, a vehicle, whatever, where I get partway through and I'm like, crap, I need X, Y, and Z. So I have to make a run to the auto parts store. And I'll probably make 2 or 3 more runs to the auto parts store before I'm done. Well, you can't do that if your vehicle's not running.
Right. Right.
So, and auto parts stores don't take too kindly to you rebuilding things in their parking lot.
No kidding.
We found out that hard way too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there are just some things that are we'll call it heavy duty, where you need very specialized equipment that you just can't do in a parking lot.
Right.
So all of those things were considerations. And I think that's one of the reasons why we decided to go back to van life, because that suited us better now that we're part-time. We're not living out of it full-time. So, all the concerns over having enough storage and other things are alleviated. We can take it on trips. If something happens, we can always fly home or do something else.
Okay. I agree with that. That actually kind of very much leaned into my next question, which was, how has having a home base changed the way you guys travel, and how has it been easier or harder? But I think you just answered that, so never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's next for you? Like, I know we're coming up to the end of 2023, but like you have a whole year of planned trips or going out and adventuring. Like, so what's next?
Well, the next immediate trip we have is a cruise. We're taking a family cruise from Los Angeles through the Panama Canal, and it'll end in Florida.
How cool.
That's cool.
That should be fun.
That's really cool. When is that?
That'll be in January.
Is that going to be
So
vlog?
start of the year. Yeah.
Yes.
The current plan is to make a video.
Okay.
To kind of share that experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mom and Jan are always a good time
Okay.
on video.
Yeah.
People miss them.
Oh, so cool. And I guess we could ask you to go ahead and share. We're going to link everything down below, but where can people find you to watch your content or read your content?
So the blog is weretherussos.com, and everywhere else also We're the Russos. So YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
And here I can put in a shameless plug right now.
Do it.
So my 2 books.
Yes.
This is number 1. Number 2. So first book was all about that year and a half we spent when Kait came up with the idea to hit the road and everything else. So this is everything we went through up into the first day on the road. And this was the first year and a half we spent in our Class A motorhome.
Wow. Awesome. We'll link everything down below so people can find you guys, and it'll be in the show notes on our website.
Yeah.
But this was so good. Thank you guys so much. I feel like we could have you guys on again and just dive even deeper in some of these topics
Yeah.
because you guys are a wealth of knowledge and inspiration. So
Yeah,
thank you for
100%.
being here.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Love to chat anytime you all have time.
Yes.
And I'd love to learn a bit more too about all the things that you all are doing.
We'll talk. We'll
So
talk soon.
We'll have to have you all on our podcast.
We'll do. We'll be there. Y'all have a good one. Thanks for listening to What No One Tells You with Chris and Sarah. If you have a comment or question that you want answered on the air, be sure to send us a message to hello@chrisandsarah.com, or you can call or text our phone number at 423-825-9572. Thanks for listening.